Here, read this.
Woof.
Good evening. It's the 29th of November 2025, and here is your poem for the day. It's already been a day jam-packed with poetry for me. I've been at my usual station here at John Kay's bookshop, but I was given leave halfway through the day to jet across town and go and deliver some of my own poems at Craig Miller Library for an event called RSVP, which I think is going to be a regular event around Edinburgh at its libraries. Which was great fun. Thank you to Liam Baker, who organised it all. It was a little bit bittersweet because I think that's the last event of this year where I'll be reading poetry live. Or so I thought. Then I remembered I do this every day, read you a poem on YouTube. So that cheered me up. So today I thought I would read a favourite of mine, which is Sylvia Plath's poem, November Graveyard. As usual, I'll read the poem through and then talk a little bit about it at the end. So here we go. November Graveyard. The scene stands stubborn. Skinflint trees hoard last year's leaves, won't mourn, wear sackcloth, or turn to elegiac dryads. And dour grass guards the hard-hearted emerald of its grassiness, however the grandiloquent mind may scorn such poverty. No dead men's cries flower forget-me-nots between the stones paving this grave ground. Here's honest rot to unpick the heart, pare bone free of the fictive vein. When one stark skeleton bulks real, all saints' tongues fall quiet. Flies watch no resurrections in the sun. At the essential landscape stare till your eyes foist a vision dazzling on the wind. Whatever lost ghosts flare, damned, howling in their shrouds across the moor, rave on the leash of the starving mind which peoples the bare room, the blank, untenanted air. I love that poem. I was reminded as I was reading it through that this is one of the poems that there is a recording of Plath reading, and I remembered that she actually says it quite differently. There's a few editorial differences. So the skinflint trees, I think she just says hoard last leaves instead of hoard last year's leaves. And then her pronunciation, I think she says elegiac. I've always said elegiac for Elegiac, but I'm doubting myself now. Maybe I should pronounce it differently. If you've never heard Plath read, they're well worth looking up on YouTube. And whilst you're looking stuff up on YouTube, if you want to hear me talk about this poem at great length, I did actually make a podcast about this one. I think it's the first poem I've done on a poem of the day, which I have actually done a podcast on. But yes, a few years ago now, I think 2022. I did one on November Graveyard. But yes, this is one of her Yorkshire pieces, along with poems like Hardcastle Crags and Wuthering Heights. And you can tell there's a sort of miserly northern air about it. The scene stands stubborn. Skinflint trees hoard last year's leaves, won't mourn, wear sackcloth. The grass scroogily hiding the very essence of itself. The grass guards the hard-hearted emerald of its grassiness. And the other thing it reminded me of was something we've talked about recently on the Wind in the Willows read-along. So there's a scene when Moley is heading into the wild wood, and he compliments himself for seeing nature stripped of its leaves and liking nature bare. It's a strange little passage where it's almost like Moley has caught the wild wood without its clothes on, and the wild wood is described as being a little bit embarrassed to be seen without leaves. And Moley claps himself on the back for appreciating the starkness of nature in winter. And there's a similar starkness here, and it seems to cancel out the efforts of the imagination. It signals the end of the fictive vein. In that way, it's very reminiscent of another Plath poem, The Tale of a Tub, which focuses on the pitiless reality of a bathroom, the unforgiving light, the dreaded accuracy of the bathroom mirror, the artlessness of the merely actual. And so both poems have this sort of paradoxical circularity to them. The poet says, here is a brutally unforgiving space where the fictive vein cannot pump. The blood jet that is poetry, therefore, must be barren. And yet they are saying it in a poem. in, I would say, a rather marvellous poem, which rather contradicts that sentiment. And this contrast between grandiloquence and the arid poverty of the scene, standing stubborn, reminds me of a line I really like in Emily Van Dyne's book, Loving Sylvia Plath. Emily Van Dyne is an American writer. She's been on the podcast, actually. There's another podcast recommendation for you. We talked about the jailer, but she, in Loving Sylvia Plath, imagines what it might have been like for Plath, this colourful American, coming to the dour grave ground of Heptonstall in Yorkshire. And she says she must have felt like a large exotic bird in a cage. And so I often think of that line when I'm reading Plath's Yorkshire poems, that these are the songs of an ostentatious exotic bird in a cage.